Elena Marsh had learned to live like a shadow. For 8 months, she had kept her curtains drawn, her phone locked with 3 passwords, and her name half changed on every account she owned. She called herself Elena now, but her mail still came addressed to Ellie Marsh, the woman she used to be, before fear rearranged her entire life. Her apartment sat on the 3rd floor of a quiet building at the edge of the city, chosen because it had 2 exits, and a landlord who never asked questions. She worked as a graphic designer from home, taking freelance jobs through a screen name, avoiding video calls whenever she could. She had not posted a single photo online since the night she left. She had not called her sister, not even once, because she was afraid that one phone call could be traced back to her like a thread pulled from a sweater, unraveling everything she had rebuilt. The man she was hiding from was named Victor Kane. He had once been charming, the kind of man who opened doors and remembered how she liked her coffee. But charm, she had learned, could be a mask worn by something much colder underneath. Victor did not like to be told no. He did not like being questioned, and he despised the idea of Elena having a life that did not orbit entirely around him. When she finally gathered the courage to leave, he had made it clear, in a voice she still heard in her nightmares, that leaving would not be that simple. So she ran. She left behind furniture, photographs, a job she loved, and a version of herself that used to laugh easily. In her new life, she did not laugh much at all. She existed carefully, like someone walking across thin ice, listening for every crack. That night, the city was unusually quiet. Rain tapped softly against her window, and Elena sat curled on her couch, with a cup of tea gone cold beside her, staring at nothing in particular. It was almost midnight. She had just started to feel that small, fragile sense of safety that came right before sleep, when 3 sharp knocks landed on her door. Her whole body went still. No one knocked on her door. Not the landlord, not a neighbor, not a delivery. She had made sure of that. Her heart began to pound so hard she could feel it in her throat. She thought of Victor immediately, the way her mind always jumped to him first, like a bruise that never fully healed. She sat frozen, praying that if she stayed silent, whoever was outside would simply leave. The knock came again, calm and deliberate, 3 times exactly, as if the person on the other side had all the patience in the world. Elena crept toward the door on unsteady legs and looked through the peephole. She expected to see Victor's face, twisted with the anger she remembered so well. Instead, she saw a man she did not recognize. He was tall, dressed in a dark coat that looked far too expensive for a random midnight visit, his expression unreadable, calm in a way that felt almost unsettling. Behind him stood 2 other men, quiet and still, like shadows attached to him. Her hand trembled on the lock. Every instinct told her not to open the door. But something about the stranger's stillness, the complete absence of the aggression she associated with danger, made her hesitate instead of running to hide in the bathroom like she usually did when fear took over. "Elena Marsh," the man said through the door, his voice low and even. "I am not here to hurt you. I need 5 minutes. After that, you can decide if you want me gone." She swallowed hard. "How do you know my name?" "Because I have been looking for the man who is hiding behind it," he answered. "Victor Kane." Her breath caught. She opened the door only as far as the chain would allow, staring out at him with wide, frightened eyes. "I don't know what you want," she whispered, "but you need to leave." "My name is Dimitri," he said simply. "I am not your enemy. Victor owes people money, serious money, and he has been using your name and old accounts to hide it. I have been tracking him for weeks. I did not expect to find you in the middle of it, but here we are." Elena's mind raced. None of this made sense, yet something about the calm certainty in his voice made her pause instead of slamming the door shut. She had spent months bracing for Victor to show up, not for a stranger claiming to be hunting him. "I don't believe you," she said, though her voice wavered. "You don't have to believe me tonight," Dimitri said, "but you should know that Victor has not stopped looking for you either, and when he finds you, I doubt his first instinct will be as polite as knocking." The words landed like a stone in her stomach. She had always known, somewhere deep down, that Victor had not simply let her disappear. Men like him did not let go. They waited. Reluctantly, she unhooked the chain and let the door open just enough for her to see him fully. Dmitri did not step forward. He waited, as if he understood that trust could not be rushed, only offered. 5 minutes, she said quietly. That's all. He nodded once and stepped inside, his men remaining out in the hallway. Elena kept her distance, arms crossed protectively over her chest, watching him the way someone watches a stranger they are not yet sure is dangerous. Dmitri explained, without dramatics, that Victor had accumulated serious debts to people who did not forgive easily. In an attempt to hide his money, Victor had used old accounts connected to Elena, accounts she had forgotten she still shared with him from their years together. It had left a trail, and that trail had eventually led Dmitri's associates directly to her apartment. I am not going to lie to you, Dmitri said. My interest in Victor is not about protecting you, it's about what he owes. But it seems our situations have crossed paths in a way that could help us both. Why would I trust you? Elena asked, her voice sharper now, fear giving way to something closer to anger. You're a stranger who shows up at midnight talking about debts and hiding places. For all I know, you're just as dangerous as he is. Dmitri studied her for a long moment, and for the first time, something in his expression softened, just slightly. You're right to be careful. I would think less of you if you weren't. But consider this. Victor is coming for you whether I am involved or not. The difference is that I can make sure he never gets the chance to reach your door again. Elena sat down slowly, her legs suddenly unable to hold the weight of everything crashing over her. 8 months of silence, of hiding, of jumping at every sound outside her window, and now this. She had spent so long trying to disappear that the idea of someone finally standing between her and Victor felt almost impossible to believe. What do you want from me? She asked finally. Information, Dmitri said. Anything you remember about his habits, the places he used to go, the people he trusted. Small details matter more than you think. Over the days that followed, an uneasy partnership began to form. Dmitri's men quietly reinforced the security of her building without drawing attention, checking the stairwells, watching the street below. Elena, still cautious, began sharing small memories she had buried. The name of a bar Victor frequented, a cousin he trusted with money, a habit of checking certain accounts late at night. She was surprised by how much she remembered, once someone actually listened, without dismissing her fear as exaggeration. There was something different about the way Dmitri treated her. He never once suggested she was overreacting. He never questioned why she had run, instead of going to the police. Perhaps because he understood, in his own complicated way, that some threats could not be solved with a simple phone call. For the first time in months, Elena did not feel like a burden for being afraid. Slowly, cautiously, something like trust began to grow between them. It was not friendship exactly, not yet, but a quiet respect built from shared purpose. Elena found herself noticing small things about Dmitri, the careful way he chose his words, the patience he showed, even when she pulled away from him out of old habit, flinching at sudden movements or raised voices. One evening, as rain tapped softly against her window again, Elena found herself telling him more than she intended, about the years with Victor, about the slow way fear had replaced love, until she barely recognized her own life. Dmitri listened without interrupting, his expression unreadable but not unkind. You survived him, he said quietly, when she finally stopped talking. That matters more than you probably give yourself credit for. Elena blinked back unexpected tears, surprised by how much those simple words meant to her. The tension broke on a Thursday night, nearly 2 weeks after Dmitri's first knock. Victor, growing desperate as his debts caught up with him, tracked Elena down himself, arriving at her building with the kind of reckless anger she remembered too well. He pounded on her door, shouting her old name, demanding she open it, his voice slurred with both alcohol and rage. Elena's whole body locked with fear, old instincts screaming at her to hide, to disappear into the corner of her closet the way she used to. But this time, she was not alone. Dmitri's men, already stationed nearby, intercepted Victor in the hallway before he could reach her door. She heard raised voices, a scuffle, and then silence. Her hands shook as she waited, unsure what was happening on the other side of her door. When it finally opened, it was Dmitri who stepped through, calm as always, though there was a tightness in his jaw that had not been there before. "He's not going to bother you again," Dmitri said simply. "What did you do?" Elena asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I gave him a choice," Dmitri answered. "Disappear completely, or answer for everything he owes, to more people than just me. He chose to disappear." Elena sank onto her couch, the adrenaline draining out of her all at once, leaving her shaking and exhausted. For the first time in 8 months, she allowed herself to believe that Victor was truly gone from her life. Not just physically absent, but no longer a shadow hanging over every decision she made. In the days that followed, the fear that had wrapped around her like a second skin slowly began to loosen. She found herself opening her curtains during the day, letting sunlight spill across her apartment for the first time in months. She reached out to her sister, her hands trembling as she typed the message, and cried when the reply came back within minutes, full of relief and love she had denied herself for far too long. Dmitri, having gotten what he came for, began preparing to step back from her life just as quietly as he had entered it. He told her one evening, standing near her door as if already halfway out of it, that his work was done, that Victor's debts had been settled in whatever way men like him settled such things, and that she was free now, truly free. Elena stood there, studying him, surprised by the small ache she felt at the thought of him leaving. Somewhere in the middle of fear and uncertainty, he had become the first person in a very long time to make her feel safe, not because he demanded her trust, but because he had earned it, quietly, one small act at a time. "You don't have to go," she said softly, the words surprising even her. Dmitri paused, his hand still on the doorframe, and turned to look at her fully, as if seeing her clearly for the first time. "Are you sure?" he asked. Elena thought about the months of silence, the closed curtains, the flinching at every sound. She thought about the quiet strength she had rediscovered in herself through it all, and the unexpected kindness of a stranger who had knocked on her door at midnight and never once made her feel small for being afraid. "I'm sure," she said. The next morning, for the first time in what felt like forever, Elena opened her blinds fully and let the sunlight pour into every corner of her apartment. She stepped out onto her small balcony, breathing in the crisp morning air without the familiar tightness of fear in her chest. Below, on the quiet street, Dmitri's car remained parked, not as a reminder of danger, but as a quiet promise that she was no longer walking through her life alone. She smiled, a small, genuine smile that had been missing from her face for far too long, and for the first time in 8 months, Elena Marsh finally felt like she was home.